And Senor has spent several years working on the Hill and in the White House. He was a senior advisor to Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan in the 2012 presidential campaign. Good morning.
Good morning, Charlie.
Look at these low ratings. Look at the deepening probe. How much of a distraction is this for the president trying to run the country?
Well, it's an enormous distraction because in any White House, there's obviously a lot of tension when you're trying to get things done in your first year. You try to keep your staff cohesive. This is a White House staff where there already is a lot of infighting. Then you layer onto that political pressure, low approval ratings, and then an investigation. So staff members are lawyering up. There's already, distrust builds among them. No one knows who's cooperating with investigators and who's not. So it makes a difficult governing environment even more difficult.
And as all this happens, they try to pass, so the Senate tries to pass a health care bill. That has been delayed now because of what's happening with Senator McCain. The conventional wisdom is that a delay is bad, will hurt chances. Is that true?
Yeah, I spoke to a number of legislators over the last 10 days. And the sense was one of the big challenges they're having is the whole debate over health care reform is an intra-Republican debate, right? The moderates they're trying to get the moderates on board. They're trying to placate the conservatives, people like Ted Cruz, trying to figure out what to do about Rand Paul and the trouble he's causing. They're not making a public case nationally. It's all intra-right. And so the longer this takes, the more of this infighting you have, and the more you have corralling people, and you're not making the case to the public. And when you combine that with these low approval ratings for the president, whose name will ultimately be attached to the health care bill, it makes it tougher.
And right now, Paul and Collins are almost definite no's, and no third Republican senator wants to be the one to say I was a third one, right?
Right. But there's about 5 that are sort of hanging in the balance. I think, look, Mitch McConnell is a master parliamentarian strategist. I mean, if anyone could pull a rabbit out of a hat, it's him. I've seen him do it a number of times over a couple of decades. But this is a really tough situation because time is not their friend here, because there's no one out there making the public case for the bill, including the president. When President Obama was making the case for Obamacare, he was doing speeches, he was doing town hall meetings, he was doing press conferences, he was doing interviews. There's none of that going on here.
It may seem to prefer President Trump staying out of it at this point, but a lot of the pressure that these senators are facing is coming from their own governors. There was a meeting of governors in Rhode Island over the weekend, and we know that the administration dispatched a few of its members, including HHS Secretary Price, and they were trying to talk down the CBO and dissuade them from really focusing on that number. Is that a smart tactic when we do get a CBO number?
I don't think they have much of a choice, and they do have some good facts on their side. The CBO wildly, miscalculated the impact of Obamacare, so it's not without precedent. And what CBO is focusing on is the number of people that will be left uninsured, and I think Republicans have a good explanation for that. So I'm not that worried about the CBO, and I think the Republicans should also be talking about they should do everything they can to get health care reform done, but if it doesn't get done, they need to pivot quickly to tax reform, because I do think that is winnable. And you're already, just last night, you're starting to see that the White House is getting ready for tax reform. Regardless of what happens with health care reform, they're going to move quickly to tax reform so they can at least get some legislative win in before the end of the year.
And of course, we've got to focus on the debt ceiling as well. A lot on their plate as the summer's coming.
Which will really kick in September. Yeah.
And great to see you.
Good to be with you guys.